How are we doing, everyone? Sam here, United People's TV, going live with a different sort of show here on Saturday evening in the wake of that 4-1 humiliation to Watford, compounding the misery on top of Liverpool, on top of City. We're hearing reports tonight from the Times that Manchester United are having an emergency meeting tonight. The Glazers have called an emergency meeting tonight to speak about the future of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's a bit of an impromptu stream. I don't really do these, but with stories like this, with stories about Solskjaer, with stories about everything here, I'm going to bring you the breaking news as and when it happens. I'm going to waste absolutely no time getting straight into this one. Please, throughout the entire stream, you let me know what you're thinking in the comments. Leave your opinions down below, as always, and fire in your questions. Let's get straight into this one because there really is no time to be messing around with this. This is coming from the Times, as I said, from Duncan Castles. Question marks are because it's Duncan Castles slightly, but for someone to go this big and this strong with this story straight away, we have to discuss it. Manchester United's board have called an emergency meeting to discuss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future as manager. That is what we're hearing here from Duncan Castles. Let's go down and read the article together. It said Manchester United have called an emergency board meeting to discuss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's dismissal as manager in the wake of the club's debilitating 4-1 loss at relegation threatened Watford. The Sunday Times understands the virtual meeting has been scheduled for 7 p.m. So that's in 15 minutes time, with Solskjaer's compensation terms on its agenda. Solskjaer, 48, has now won just 4 games out of the last 13, and the collapse in form has been dramatic, with the defeat at Vicarage Road following back-to-back home defeats to City and Liverpool. The Glazer family has also instructed club officials to further accelerate attempts to persuade Zinedine Zidane to take over the managerial position mid-season, increasing United's financial offer to the 3 times Champions League winning coach. Now, this is a story that's coming out, as I said, from Duncan Castles, from the Times, that Manchester United's board are meeting in the next literally 15 minutes to discuss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's sacking. It should be happening. Of course, it should be happening. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, as far as I'm concerned, should have been sacked after Liverpool, wasn't. Should have been sacked after City, wasn't. And I didn't think, really, in my personal opinion, I didn't think that the Watford losing to Watford could change things. And then we go and get beaten 4-1. Now that's very much a different ball game. There's a comment there that just caught my eye. Andy, you're spot on there. The Glazers are just as much to blame. Of course they are. The board should not have held their egos in the way. You saw my match reaction. You saw how not confident, how passionately I feel about the fact that Solskjaer right now should not be in the job. He should already have been sacked and replaced. But it looks like United are going to be doing something. Maybe that could happen tonight. Maybe that could happen tomorrow morning. It seems a bit silly to be doing it at that point, but because, we've got Villarreal in a couple of days, but you can't leave this now. It should have happened over the international break. It didn't happen over the international break. The story here developing tonight is that Manchester United's board are calling a meeting to discuss Solskjaer's sacking. As I said, we didn't see any of this reaction like this coming from any major news outlet like the Times or the Sunday Telegraph or anybody. We didn't see any of this after Liverpool, and we didn't see any of this after City. We're seeing it tonight after Watford. Things are different after Watford, losing to relegation candidates, Watford 4-1. That's going to change any manager's future, any manager of a top club anyway. Now, what's your reaction to that? Do you think that Solskjaer should be sacked tonight? Yes or no? You let me know in the comments. Do you think he will be sacked tonight or tomorrow? You let me know in the comments. And we're also going to have a discussion down here, because it's the second part of this article. We're going to have a discussion about Zidane. What I did after the game, I asked people about who they thought could be that next interim manager. We're definitely going to have that conversation in the comments. But what's your immediate reaction, man? As I said, we didn't have anything like this really after Liverpool or City. As bad as both of those were, I didn't particularly think that. I didn't particularly. I felt that he should have been sacked, but nothing happened. But tonight here, only a couple of hours after the game, we're here talking about it and seeing the stories coming out. Now, the majority of you, Stanley, you're saying he needs to leave. And you're saying you're speechless. You're not the only one. He won't be sacked until we get relegated. Raspberry, we're with relegation form at the moment. Get him out tonight. Says, Ollie looks like Chris, how you doing, buddy? Ollie looks like a dead man walking. It's sad to witness it, but mate, it's painful. It's utterly, utterly, utterly painful. Ole's taken us as far as he can, but if this is the end, his reign should be remembered positively. I'll make sure it does with the videos that I will be doing. But the thing that staggers me about all of this, right, staggers me about the fact that we're talking about the Glazers having an emergency meeting. It's not as if this hasn't, the writing's been on the wall. The writing was on the wall after Liverpool. This is a conversation and a meeting that should have happened after Liverpool. And that after City game, after in the start of the international break, that we did sack Solskjaer, and then we would have had 2 weeks to go for whoever we wanted, whether that was Ralf Rangnick, whether that was Zinedine Zidane, whether that was, I don't know, bringing someone else in on an interim manager. It should have happened after City. Instead, we're now here 2 weeks later, and there's been no difference between City and Watford. If anything, we somehow looked worse. I didn't think it could get any worse than that game against City. And then we go and get pumped 4-1 by Watford, who hadn't scored in 4 of the last 5 games. But Manchester United tonight holding an emergency meeting. That's apparently happening in the next 12 minutes. So things could very much develop whilst we're on this live stream together, speaking and talking through these stories. Do you think that Zidane, let's have a quick conversation about Zidane here. After I head down to the comments, I'm going to read a few of your opinions out. Look, if you're new here, and I'm sure there will be loads of you new, can you please drop a like on the video, subscribe to United People's TV, stick around because I will bring you all the breaking news. And genuinely, I try to make these as interactive as possible, and I get your opinions on the show. Keith, you're saying should have been gone after the Villarreal disaster of an appointment for me, an atrocious style of football, worse than anything Moyes, Van Gaal. I think Van Gaal still takes the biscuit for me. But in terms of how bad Manchester United are, again today, absolutely at 6s and 7s, defensively an absolute shambles. And then it was almost a surprise. It was only 4, really. Zidane or Rodgers, someone's saying down there, Zidane is not the answer, says James. And James, I know you're not the only one who does have that feeling. That's why we'll have a discussion about Zidane after we see what everyone else says down here. Chibwell, you're saying I can confidently say I've no clue. There's no telling this with the United board. There's no telling with the United board. As I said, this should have been a conversation we were having after City, eh? We should have been having this conversation a couple of weeks ago. Manchester United, they should have been having these emergency meetings a couple of weeks ago. But instead, they sort of arrogantly backed and still backed and backed and backed until the point where there's literally no point. We were past the point of no return after City, in my opinion. But instead, we waited here for the Watford game. And instead of it being a potential turnaround, right, Fabrizio Romano has just tweeted, let's see what he is saying. As I said, this is going to be a rapidly developing story. So you want to be here on United People's TV, make sure you subscribe. I'm going to try and bring you it all as it's breaking because I don't know what's going to happen, right? I don't know what's going to happen. But look, Fabrizio Romano, let's see what he said. Internal, he's reiterating here. So Fabrizio Romano here is reiterating what Duncan Castles has been saying. He said, internal talks ongoing at Manchester United to discuss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's position. Part of the board officials are pushing to sack the manager immediately. It is a serious possibility now after the terrible performance at Vicarage Road. The final choice will be up to Joel Glazer. So tonight, and this is, as I said, this is different. This is completely different to what we saw after Liverpool. This is completely different to what we saw after Manchester City. After Watford tonight, we've now got 2 journalists coming out. We've got Duncan Castles from the Times here, and we've got, well, we consider them one of the most trusted voices when it comes to anything Manchester United. And that would be Fabrizio Romano. He is saying here that talks are ongoing in Manchester United to discuss the sacking of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Part of the board, so apparently, so him saying part of the board, it's not every single member inside that board, but some are pushing for him to be sacked immediately. So that's straight away, whether that's tonight, whether that's tomorrow morning. It's a serious possibility now. I mean, it should have been, look, I'm not going to repeat myself, but it should have been a possibility after the City game. It should have been a possibility after the Liverpool game. But United here are making moves, right? And I think after you lose 4-1 to relegation-threatened Watford, after everything that's happened in the weeks before, I don't think that United can really do anything else now, in my own opinion, apart from sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and do it swiftly. So it creates a bigger conversation and a question about what comes next, eh? Because we don't know who the best interim manager is. You saw the videos that I did on United People's TV last week. I took a look at Ralf Rangnick. I took a look at Brendan Rodgers. I took a look at Erik ten Hag. And I took a look at Zinedine Zidane. So please make sure you check all of those out because it's a huge, huge point of debate, of contention. No one really knows what the right decision, what the next move is for Manchester United, in my own opinion. That's the only reason that Solskjaer is still in the job, because of that lack of decision inside Manchester United's board. But what we're seeing here, as I said, that's why I did this impromptu live stream. It's important that we had this discussion live, and I knew this was going to happen. I could see it, that it's going to start developing. So apparently Manchester United's board are meeting in the next 8 minutes. That was according to Duncan Castles, who was the first one to break this story. Well, I've got to give credit to Duncan Castles. He's somebody who I've questioned the reliability of for some time now, but he's here coming through with this story first, and then Fabrizio's backing it up. He's saying that call right there, look, scheduled for 7 p.m. So that's 7 minutes away, that Manchester United's board are going to be having a meeting and discussing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's sacking. Comment here from Reckless saying, sack the Glazers, sack the manager and the entire board. Well, geez, that would be something that I would definitely want to see. Salim, you're saying Rangnick is the best option. Ladies and gents, in the comments, fire in your comments. Type the name of the person now who you think would be the best interim manager for Manchester United. You could look internally. You could look at Phelan, Carrick. I'm just saying names here, by the way, that you could look at. Phelan, Carrick, McKenna, or Fergie on an interim basis. You could look at Zidane. You could look at Rangnick. You could look at Ten Hag. There's so many names that you could mention. Fire it in the comments now who you want to see coming in, and I'll try and read a few of your opinions out. Ozzy, how are you saying? Just ordered the Chinese to cheer myself up, and this news has made me happy. As long as you got sweet and sour chicken balls and Singapore noodles. I like a bit of Chinese. Let's go down here. Brendan Rodgers, Rangnick, Fergie to the end of the season, Zidane. Lots of you saying Zidane. So many of you saying Zidane. Roy Keane. I still don't know whether people are being sarcastic when they say that or not, but I do laugh. Raf, you're saying only Rangnick can take United as an interim with a vision for the future. Now, the real question you have to have about Zinedine Zidane is the fact that would he come into Manchester United on an interim basis? Why would he do that? Why would he do that? Would he do that? Would it suit him to do that until maybe the France job becomes available and then we get a Ten Hag in the summer? I don't know. I'm just speaking out loud here. This is all hypothetical at the moment, but we are seeing a rapidly developing story, and Fabrizio Romano has added extra spice on top of that. Let me retweet that. Let me get that up. But yeah, this is, as I said, I saw this. I saw Manchester United acting, right? I saw Manchester United starting to do something after that Watford game. For us to do it now, tonight, means, in my opinion, these conversations have already been had. And of course, they should have already been had behind the scenes. But United are acting, and it looks like we're acting quite swiftly. Fabrizio Romano and Duncan Castles both saying the same thing, that meeting is being held in the next 5 minutes. So, look, everyone fire in your comments, and I'll try and read out as many as possible. Fire in your questions that you would have. Fire any your opinions, anything at all. If you'd like to support the channel, please fire in your super chats as well. I'll always answer the super chats. And if you're new here, welcome to United People's TV. You might not have seen me before. My name's Sam. I try to bring the most interactive and informative shows here on United YouTube. So please consider subscribing. It's free of charge. And drop a like on the video as well. Rangnick has been, this is a comment there from Andrew on Facebook. How you doing, Andrew? Saying Rangnick has been a mentor for Klopp and Tuchel. He's definitely got pedigree. If anybody has not watched my videos on Rangnick, I tell you what, watch that video, because by the end of it, you'll be very, very impressed with Ralf Rangnick. He is somebody who's, first of all, he's speaking in a foreign language, and he's articulating very complicated thought processes, and he does it so well. By the end of it, I felt like I had learned something just by watching those videos on Ralf Rangnick, so I can understand if he has got a lot of admirers inside United's board. Because whoever we turn to next look, Solskjaer, I said it after Liverpool and I said it after City. It really was a case of when and not if he was sacked as manager. It didn't happen then. We've had 2 weeks, and now we're here after Watford, and we're seeing Fabrizio saying that the talks are happening. He could be sacked immediately. We've got Duncan Castles saying it. It's different now. It's very much going to be accelerated. And I don't think the fact that we've got Villarreal in a couple of days' time and Chelsea next Sunday will stop anything. I think the wheels are in motion. The wheels were in motion after Liverpool and City, but after that Watford game, I think it's game, set, and match. Andrew, you're saying me or Ten Hag. Thank you, Sam. Well, how good are you, Andrew? I have no idea what your CV is saying. And this is a big thing, 619. You're saying Joel Glazer is top 4 mathematically impossible. That's always been the question as to why or when the Glazers will sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now you're going to see movement, because top 4 is not, of course, mathematically impossible at this stage in the season, but it's going to start running away from Manchester United it really will start running away from us. We are in relegation form, and it's not one game. It's what, 4 points from our last 18 or something like that. We have got an abysmal run. Whoever comes in next, it's going to be a very, very difficult job to come in, immediately get a better cohesion inside that squad. But at the same time, it's a very, very top level squad. It really has got Ronaldo, Sancho, Van der Beek. Hell, wouldn't it be the height of irony if Donny van der Beek scores the last goal of the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era? That would be a massive, massive irony. Geez, 4 out of 20 says Deeps. Yeah, well, there you go. 4 out of 20. That's Solskjaer's performances. And look, 4 points out of 20 will put any manager under threat. Any manager at any team in the league, 4 points out of 20, and your job is under threat. Let alone Manchester United's manager and the expectations and the standards that we all hold our club to. 4 out of 20 is relegation form. No, not relegate. You are getting relegated with that form. So Solskjaer cannot feel hard done by at this point. I would say what he can feel hard done by is the fact that the Glazers haven't already done it. It didn't already happen after City, and we wouldn't have had to witness that Watford game. It should never have been that case. We should have had somebody else in. But I'm going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if he was sacked tonight. Okay, I wouldn't be surprised. It's hard to say whether it will or not. Of course, it's very, very hard to say. But the speed that things are going to start developing, I think, will really surprise people. Maybe a lot of us are sort of we're stung by how Manchester United have been acting over the international break for sure, and we expected us to sort of dilly-dally and dither. But this is what's going on. I'm going to head over here, and we've got to. Oh Jesus! Well, no, I'm not going to say his name, but Zidane really is the name that's being bandied around at the moment. What's your opinion on Zidane, man? Zidane. Let me know in the comments below about Zinedine Zidane. Where do you stand on Zidane? Is that the right thing to do? Is that the wrong thing to do? I did my video on Zidane, and I'll be honest, I've done a video on Ten Hag. I did a video on Brendan Rodgers and Rangnick, and Zidane was the man who, after doing the research and looking into Zidane, it was the one I left with the most questions. Really, more about like he doesn't really have something that's massively defined as a start. He's got his 4-3-3. You know, he's his 4-3-3. That's what Zidane plays. But he's got 2 different times when he's gone to Real Madrid. The first time, obviously, he had Bale, Benzema, and Ronaldo and everybody, and they won 3 in a row. A couple of years later, went back with a slightly different team without Ronaldo, and he didn't. And he won the league and nearly won the league back to back. Only lost in the last day of the season, and that was with a younger team like Vinicius Junior and Marcus Asensio. Zidane's got pedigree. You might not agree with it. You might not think he's the right man, but Zidane does have pedigree. There's question marks about whether or not he could come in and do the job at Manchester United. But I tell you what, he's proven that he can do it at the highest level with Real Madrid. And I would argue it's the hardest job in the world. Hashim saying the curious case of Manchester United finished 2nd and 3rd with the same coach and a weaker squad, strengthening the squad and became horribly worse. It is really the curious case, Hashim. And that's the strangeness of this season. That's why we all went into this season with different expectations, But those expectations just have not been met in any way, shape or form. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer cannot be surprised now that he's on the verge of being sacked. Keep firing in your comments, ladies and gents. I'm going to try and read out as many of your opinions as I possibly can. There's so many of you watching. Please, if you would consider subscribing to United People's TV, I'd love to have you on board and to join the United People's TV family. And hell, if you'd like to, hit the join button down below. Become a member. It's your way of coming closer to the middle of the community. You get access to the private WhatsApp group, and I'll read your comments out as a priority. Let's see what else is being said about this story. As I said, I'm covering this as it is happening. So if Duncan Castles was correct, Manchester United right now are holding an emergency meeting to discuss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future. Let's head back to the article and see what it said there. If you scroll down here, it said, look, the Sunday Times understands the virtual meeting has been scheduled for 7 p.m. So that's literally right now with Solskjaer's compensation terms on its agenda. Now, of course, when you're looking at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's compensation terms, I don't know how big they'll be, but they should be pretty hefty because he's just signed a new contract. Manchester United, we spent 20 million sacking Jose Mourinho. That's how much he got. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had an equally as big package because he's just signed that contract. It was Manchester United's decision to give him that contract. It was a risky move. I don't think Solskjaer genuinely needed it. I think he would have been happy to stay at the club with, even a day left on his contract. But United doubled down. I'm seeing 7 million apparently. I'm seeing loads of people commenting saying 7 million. I mean, Solskjaer's crap at getting contract. Jeez, whoever's negotiated that contract. Jeez, if Mourinho managed to get 20 million and he only had what, like 18 months left in his contract, and Solskjaer's only going to get 7. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But the point stands is what I said earlier. If Manchester United were willing to spend 20 million on sacking Mourinho, then they will be willing to spend as much as that on sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now, Zidane is the conversation, but everybody now fire in your comments and fire in your opinions about Zinedine Zidane. I'll try and answer them as much as I can as this story continues to develop. If I head over here and I look at, I asked on Twitter, I said, look, the question is now not whether Solskjaer should be sacked, it's who should come in. And there were loads and loads of responses. If I go down here, Ralf, Ten Hag, Laurent Blanc, Zidane, Ten Hag, Zidane, surely, Laurent Blanc, we're screwed. Marcelo Gallardo, that's not going to happen. Ole out and Giggs, geez, no. Ralf Rangnick, Zidane does not speak English. There's a comment there coming from Jay Razor. Hey, look, that won't be the end of the world. He didn't speak English out in Spain, did he? He didn't speak Spanish, sorry, out in Spain. It didn't really stop him winning 3 titles with Real Madrid. So I don't think that's a massive issue. And whether or not you think Marcelo Bielsa is a good manager, he's got a translator with him, and he's done very well. Ole out now, brings Zidane in. Gary Neville could have a go. I don't think Gary Neville could have a go. No, I don't think so. Rangnick is somebody who, as I said, if you watch those videos that I did, you leave it going, all right, okay, I'm pretty damn impressed by him. I'm really quite impressed by how he speaks, how he carries himself, and you can see that he's done it at multiple clubs. He's done it with Ralf Rangnick. He's done it in like 7 Bundesliga clubs, and he was a big part of how the Red Bull brand, if you want to call it, Red Bull Salzburg and Red Bull Leipzig, he managed both of them. Hell, I'll tell you what was the most impressive thing. He was sporting director of both Red Bull Salzburg and Leipzig, two teams in 2 countries at the same time. Ralf Rangnick is somebody who can juggle. He might be able to juggle, not sure. He can juggle multiple things in high responsibility roles. He can articulate, as I said, I was very impressed by Ralf Rangnick. And when it comes to Zidane, it depends whether Manchester United are going to be looking at getting someone in straight away right now who they can see as more long-term, or whether they see somebody coming in the short term, maybe until the end of the season, which opens up different conversations. Someone like Ten Hag is I don't think Ten Hag's going to leave Ajax during the season. I really, really don't. But I think if you're looking at interim managers, I don't think you can really look past a better option than Ralf Rangnick. If you're looking at somebody in the long term who might come in now, I would say probably Zidane is your best bet. Brendan Rodgers could leave Leicester, but it's just a bit more complicated. Ten Hag could leave Ajax, but I don't think he would, in my opinion. And now we've got Zinedine Zidane and the story. Let's see if anything else is continuing to break and develop about this. I question whether Manchester United would be acting tonight, but it really, really looks like they are. As I said, you've got Duncan Castles saying it. He came out with a story first and foremost. And then who we consider the godfather of Manchester United news, Fabrizio Romano, said the same thing. Internal talks are ongoing at Manchester United to discuss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's position. Part of the board officials are pushing for him to be sacked immediately. And that's an important point there. Fabrizio's not messing around there. He's like, they're talking about sacking him tonight. It's a serious possibility now after a terrible performance, against Watford. Fabrizio confirmed it, says to Milo. He did right there. Ed Woodward out as well, says Si, mate. Geez, don't even get me started on Ed Woodward. Come on, I haven't got all night. Ed Woodward and his ego has got in the way of making this decision, in my own opinion. I did a video on that. You liked it because it's the truth. In my opinion, I can't prove it. And of course, it's an assumption, but hell, I'm making that assumption about him. My fear is, let's see what you, let me see. I'm going to try and read out as many comments. As I said, there's so many of you watching. Please consider subscribing. I'm not trying to beg, but I like having you on board here with me. Jay Razy is saying Zidane speaks French, English, French, Spanish, German. Real Madrid players could communicate with him. Well, he can communicate with plenty of English players. Then, look, I don't personally see the fact that Zidane does not speak English as a problem. And as a multilinguist in speaking French, in speaking German, as you say there, then I believe Zidane will be able to pick up the language. I wouldn't say relative. I mean, of course, he can probably partly speak English anyway. If he can learn those ones, I imagine certain people are very, very good at that. I can't. I find it very, very difficult to speak other languages. Some people are incredibly smart and have the ability to just get, like Lukaku, for example, can speak like 7 languages. That's not really talked about that much. Let's go down here. If Zidane is about to come in, it would be in the summer, says Bob. I'm not sure. Let's see what goes on there. As I said, the story coming and breaking here, and this, if we move on, if we move back to this, this is from Duncan Castles from the Sunday Times. The Glazers family has also instructed Manchester United officials to further accelerate attempts to persuade Zinedine Zidane to take over the managerial position mid-season. So we're not talking about the summer here. Increasing United's financial offer to the 3 times Champions League winning coach. JK, you're saying we could have an interim for Villarreal like Phelan or Carrick. If they couldn't get a manager in 2 weeks, why would they be able to get one in 2 days? JK, it's exactly why I'm so frustrated and angry, if I'm being completely honest, that this is the reaction to the Watford game. This should have been the reaction from Manchester United after the City game. I understand if I don't agree with it, but I understand if the reaction wasn't that after Liverpool. But after the City game that happened 2 weeks later, for us to not have, we should have had this reaction. The emergency meeting should have happened after the City game. Then we would have had 2 weeks to have conversations with these different managers to look at what the right option for Manchester United would have been. Instead, we're now sitting here after Watford on a Saturday night, thinking about Villarreal in 2-3 days' time, thinking, geez, we've got to get rid of Solskjaer. Who's going to come in? The reality is this, and this is probably the most likely situation. As JK said in the comments there, if Solskjaer is sacked, it would probably be left down to Carrick or Phelan or McKenna for the Villarreal game. And then we would probably get someone in before the Chelsea game. That's probably the most realistic example of what would happen. I can't say anything else apart from that. And again, that's just what my gut instinct is telling me. That's just a sort of an educated guess as to what would happen if Solskjaer was sacked. Because I think at this point, I don't think we can head into the Villarreal game in the current situation that we're in as a club. Solskjaer's lost the support. He lost the support of more fans in the away end today. He's lost support of so many fans since Liverpool and City, and just as it keeps getting further and further down the line and we sink further and further, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And the good work, as I said, that Solskjaer had done in his early days as a United manager is starting to unravel in front of his face. It's terrible. I don't like it, and I wish he wasn't there. I wish he would already been sacked and we can have a different conversation. But, mate, I'm happy in the fact that Manchester United are actually putting their finger out of their arse and actually doing something tonight. I am frustrated at the fact that it's reached this stage. This should have been something that happened at the start of the international break, because then we would have had two full weeks of no football, and instead it goes back to the conversation we've had so many times here on United People's TV about being proactive versus being reactive. We're being reactive again. We're doing it after we've lost 4-1 to Watford, a game that let's be honest, plenty of us could have predicted that game. Not on that scale, sure, but so many of us predicted us to struggle in that game. And we did, lo and behold. So that's now us being reactive and sort of closing the door after the horse has bolted. The house is on fire and now we've got the extinguisher out. Instead of putting fireproofing on it. Instead of closing the door before the horse has bolted. That's what United are doing. And it's like, for me last week, that's why I was proactive. That's why I made my videos on Zidane, on Ten Hag, on Rodgers, on Rangnick, because proactively I wanted to take a look at available managers before it reached the point where Solskjaer was sacked. And then I was sitting there going, well, what is going to be next then? I don't really know what's going to be next. Now I do know, because I've already been proactive and looked forward. So instead of United doing what they should have done in the right order, we've done it backwards. And now after the Watford game, geez. And look, what's your opinion about the play? Let's quickly talk about the players, before we move on. Do you think the players, can we start to blame the players now? De Gea spoke after the game, spoke about how embarrassing it was. Bruno Fernandes sort of, when he was behind Solskjaer, when Solskjaer went towards the away end, Bruno was basically saying, look, boo us. Like, the players are at fault as well. Because it was pathetic. It really was pathetic again. Just when you think United can't go any lower or can't go anywhere else, it keeps getting worse. I don't know how they do it. I really don't know how they do it. Chalex, you're saying, yes, definitely the players can absolutely take some blame. Just sack him. Someone's saying there. Daniel with a comment saying, Ole lied to so many players. It was a matter of time before things turned out like this. United act during a panic. They will mess this up also. We are acting in a panic right now. I wish that we weren't. I wish that, as I said, that we were more proactive as a football club, and we would have sacked him after City, and then we would have been heading into this situation. We would have headed into Watford in a very, very different frame of mind, in shape of a club, shape of mind. Mix that one up. But it looks like United are finally moving. So right now, as I said, if Duncan Castles is correct in his report, Manchester United's board, as we speak, are speaking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That might mean that as the night develops, that stories start to come out, that stories start to break about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. This one's different. This feels different. This is different to what happened after Liverpool and to what happened after City. As I said, Man United's board right here. If you haven't missed a story, if you just joined in, Man United's board have called an emergency meeting tonight to discuss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future and him being sacked immediately. And that conversation is happening right now. I'm going to head down to the comments in a second. I'm going to read more of your comments out. Look, if you're new to United People's TV, welcome aboard. Lovely to have you here. I wish it was here in better circumstances, but we've got to cover the breaking news about Solskjaer. Please consider dropping a like on the video. Please consider subscribing if you're new. There are so many of you watching, so there must be plenty of you that are new. So please hit that subscribe button and come in. Matthew, here's what you're saying about the players. The players have to take a huge amount of responsibility, but it was Ole that trained and kept picking the same underperforming players. He hasn't learned. Now, Solskjaer has repeated mistakes. And I've always said that, Matt, about not just Solskjaer, but about anything in life. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes in life, ladies and gents. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. Making mistakes is how you learn and how you progress as a human being, inside and outside of the workplace. You make a mistake, you go, that was wrong, won't do that again. You switch. The next time you go back and do something, you do it better. Solskjaer hasn't really been doing that with the players that he's been playing on for. Maguire today. Again, I know that Varane's injured and we don't really have that many options, but he could have played by. Jeez. Today, Maguire, wow. I might have to do a separate video on that altogether. He's the captain of Manchester United and he's doing that. I didn't see no cup deers after that, Harry. That's all I'm saying. Richard, Sky Bet odds on Ole getting sacked at 1 to 20. Right, well, the bookies there are going very, very strong on that. And 9 times out of 10 people, the bookies are right. You prefer Rodgers over Zidane. Too many egos on the pitch. Don't need one managing. Well, let me know in the comments there who agrees with Richard. Would you rather have Rodgers over Zidane? I'll be honest, Richard, I'm not sure you're going to have too much support there. Let's see if there's any other updates coming as we're speaking here live on the stream. But this is going to be a rapidly developing story. I'm glad that we're able to go live and have this discussion together. We are 12 points from top, says Captain Barton, only 8 points from relegation. Well, that is how you get yourself sacked as Manchester United manager. I think I need a drink. That's better. But yeah, we know that, as Harry says here, the final choice will be up to Joel Glazer. And it will be up to Joel Glazer. And it will be up to the fact that the Glazers think that the top four is getting away from them. Let's make no mistake in understanding the fact that that is the Glazers' business model. At the same time, we spent this summer. We spent on Ronaldo, we spent on Sancho, and we spent on Varane. So we signed players that should have taken this team up to challenging for the Premier League title. Instead, we're here, as we can see, closer to the relegation zone than we are the Champions spot. And I don't know about Zidane. I don't know about Rodgers. I don't know. Aaron, you're saying Zidane over Rodgers. Please not Rodgers, says Avish over there. Tanny, you would rather have Zidane. So Mr. Cates. Matt, you said Zidane has nothing to do with the Premier League. No manager has anything to do with the Premier League until he's in the Premier League. It is what it is. I think, I'll be honest, I think it would be very, very foolish of any of us to completely rule out any managerial candidate who could replace Solskjaer. And I mean any of them, apart from internal. I think the only ones that I can completely rule out are internal appointments. I'm talking about Phelan. I'm talking about Carrick. I'm talking about McKenna. I'm talking about Fletcher. Maybe on an interim basis for a game if we need to do that. But that's it. Other than that, I don't think you can rule anything out. I don't think you can rule out Zidane or Rodgers or Ten Hag or Pochettino or anybody. They're all going to have pros and cons. There's no manager. I would say Ten Hag is probably the one out of all of them that ticks the more of the boxes for me. Although the question marks about whether he could do it in the Premier League, considering he's only done it in Eredivisie, I would argue, say, well, look what he's done in the Champions League. Got to the semi-final and he's got through the group stages this year after 4 games. Ten Hag looks fantastic. I would love to get Ten Hag in, but he won't come until the summer. So what do United do between now and then? And this is the position that we're in now. This is the position. This is the reason that we haven't sacked Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because the club does not know what to do about whether to bring someone in on a short-term basis or an interim basis or a long-term basis. And if it's going long-term and you want to wait for someone, what do you do in the meantime? Do you just give it Solskjaer? I genuinely think that the club were just hoping that Solskjaer could have just lingered on until the summer, that they could have just lingered on until Ten Hag. But that hasn't been the case, right? And we're now in a situation where Solskjaer literally has got to be sacked, right? Let me know in the comments everything, your opinion. Honestly, there are so many of you watching right now. Please consider subscribing, joining United People's TV. I'd love to have you on board. But what's your opinions about everything that you saw today? What's your opinion about what comes next? We've got to be proactive as a fan base, right? We've got to start talking about what's coming next. As I said, that's why I did my videos last week on all the managerial options, because there are options. I would say with Manchester United, what we've done in the last few years, if you look at Tuchel, if you look at Klopp, and you look at Guardiola, probably the three best examples of world-class managers who were available, and Pochettino, who were available at times where Manchester United could have brought them in, and we didn't go for any of them. We missed out on all of them, and look how they've done at other clubs. This is a situation that United are in right now. Zinedine Zidane, does he fall inside that same category as Klopp, Tuchel, and Ten Hag, or is Ten Hag and Zidane, are they in a separate category? What we have to do now is get that top level. That's why for me, someone like Brendan Rodgers might not be the right choice. I think he would come in and do a good job in stabilizing, and I'll say this through gritted teeth. I think Brendan Rodgers would basically be the dream appointment for the Glazers. I think he would be the manager that will come in and get United into that top four spot and just keep us there consistently. Top four, top four, top four, top four, top four. Never dropping out of it. Never really threatening to win the Premier League. I think he would be the dream for the Glazers. And that's why I don't really want him in by comparison of other managers. That's just my opinion on what I think about it. Let me see if anything is continuing to develop on this story as we're here live on stream together. There's nothing at this particular moment in time. So we're 20 minutes into what should be this emergency meeting. If Duncan Castles was indeed correct, the Manchester United are currently having this meeting now. As I said, it's not just Duncan Castles saying this. Fabrizio Romano has come and said that internal talks are ongoing and that Manchester United are considering sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Let me head down to the comments here and see what else is going on. Brendan Rodgers is the coach. This is a disgrace for Man United. Lovely, lovely. Man United sucked today, says John Ramon. Well, that's one very polite way of describing what that game was. Brendan Rodgers would be a big mistake, says Nestor. I think he probably would be a mistake. I wouldn't say it'd be a huge mistake. As I said, having done the video on Brendan Rodgers, I could understand, again, why he would have admirers. Just wouldn't be my personal choice. JK, you're saying Zidane or Rangnick until June, then Ten Hag or Rodgers on a permanent deal, Rangnick for the director of football. I mean, it sounds so simple when you say it on paper. Question here that I want to ask you in the comments. Fire in your answers now, please. Do you think there's any chance that Zidane would come into Manchester United knowing it was only an interim job? Do you think that Zidane would come to United knowing that in the summer we wanted Ten Hag? Type yes or no there. Because remember, I think Zidane wants that France national team job. And he's got Qatar 2022, which is in November. So maybe it would suit Zidane to come in, manage Manchester United until the summer, and then go and manage and replace Deschamps after that World Cup. A lot of you disagree here. Going down here, overwhelming majority is saying, hell no, there's no chance that Zinedine Zidane will come in on an interim basis. You know, there are a few of you saying yes, but I'm going to go like, I don't know, 80-20. 80-20%. 20% of you are saying yes, he would come in on an interim basis. About 80% of you are saying no. Jonathan saying would he? Hell. I personally do think that I would agree with 80% of you that Zinedine Zidane wouldn't come. But and that's what I mean. It depends how much he wants that France job. And by the looks of it, he really does want that France job. And I kind of be surprised if Zidane came in. But Zidane is the name that has, if you're looking at the reaction of what happened after Liverpool, let's take ourselves back a little bit and remember it was Conte. But that was coming from Conte's camp, pushing himself towards a job. United never really were interested in Conte. He went to Spurs. Closed that one off. Ten Hag, he's always dismissed any rumours. He's been linked with the Netherlands job, dismissed. Linked with the Newcastle job, dismissed. Linked with any job, I don't want to leave Ajax. Not before the end of the season. He's staying pretty firm there. I don't personally think that Ten Hag would leave before the end of the season. So then you've got Ralf Rangnick, and we know about Ralf Rangnick. He's available. I know he's working at Lokomotiv Moscow, but it's in like a communications role. Manchester United could get Ralf Rangnick if we wanted to. That's simple. Who else have we got? Brendan Rodgers. Again, the Brendan Rodgers links have probably been stronger than anyone. And he, to the point where Brendan Rodgers was even asked about them, and he answered. He's pushed them away. And I personally think Brendan Rodgers is probably higher on the list than Zinedine Zidane at this moment in time. But what we're seeing is Zidane is being linked with the job right now. That's what Duncan Castles is saying. Kevin, nice to see you joining as a member. Anybody else would like to join Kevin? please get involved. Would like to have you on board. Let me go down here. Get Keane as an interim. So many people say that. I'm presuming it's sarcastic because Keane coming in would be an absolute clusterfuck. That would just not solve any problems. I mean, it would be good fun. It would be entertainment, but I don't want to see my club doing that. We're loyal enough, says Agri. Ollie out every weekend's in tears. Yeah, well, at least it wasn't an early kickoff. At least he had a Saturday afternoon that you could have enjoyed. Manchester United can get any manager we want to, says Salim. And Salim, I think you're right. Within reason. I don't think we're going to go and get Klopp or Pep. But Manchester United can get any manager they want. And as I always reiterated it during the time, and I stand by it now. If United are willing to spend 20 million on sacking Mourinho, we should be willing to spend just as much on bringing Ten Hag in, paying up the compensation that Ajax wanted. I think it's with Ten Hag and Ajax, it's not just about money. It's about the fact that he wouldn't want to leave Ajax in the lurch during the season. That is why I don't think that Ten Hag would be available until the summer. But again, I can't rule it out. If United, look, we have the money, we have the capital, and if we go in and we go in strong with Ten Hag, maybe it's a conversation that Ajax would be like, this money would really help us. Maybe it's something that we have to consider. Maybe you can't rule it out. I personally think you can rule it out. I don't really think that Ten Hag's going to be coming before the season finishes, but I'm not going to completely dismiss it. Let me see if there's any more updates on this as we are live. Make sure, ladies and gents, there's over 5,000 of you watching right now. I'd love it if you subscribed. Not Kevin Keegan there. I'd love it if you were to subscribe, and I'd love to have you on board here in the United People's TV family, because I'm going to cover all these stories as and when they break. We've got Neil Custis. He's waving in. Good old Neil. Remember the journalist who Van Gaal famously called Fat Man at the end of his press conference? I always enjoyed that. Neil Custis, let me see what he's saying. Just for the fact that someone else is talking. Sacking Solskjaer will cost Manchester United 7.5 million after he signed a new 3-year deal in July. So the people in the comments who were saying 7 million, that's what Neil Custis is agreeing with. Solskjaer has managed his final game in charge of United and will be sacked within 48 hours, says Neil Custis. Solskjaer said his goodbyes to staff and players following the defeat to Watford. Well, I'll retweet that one as well. You let me know what you think about that. As I said, what we're seeing now is what we're seeing post Watford is a very different type of reaction to what we saw after Liverpool and what we saw after Manchester City. After Liverpool and City, there was a lot of anger and fan frustration, really, about what was going on. But everything that we have seen, everything that we saw, from the press, was that he still maintained the support of Manchester United. What we're seeing here after Watford is the complete opposite. What we're seeing here after Watford is Duncan Castles starting here saying that the board's having an emergency meeting. You've got Fabrizio Romano coming in not straight away, 10, 15 minutes later saying the exact same thing. You've got Neil Custis coming here and saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, that's the wrong one, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has taken charge of his last game as Manchester United manager and will be sacked. What's your reaction to all of everything that's going on right now, What's your feelings, everything? You let me know in the comments. As I said, there's so many watching, and it's indicative of the desire for change, I believe, of the desire for this Manchester United team to be taken forward in a new direction. Whether that direction is Zinedine Zidane, whether that direction is Ralf Rangnick until the end of the season, these truths we'll know because these will emerge over the next couple of days. But yeah, everything really is pointing to the fact that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be sacked, and it may well be tonight. All right, it may well be tonight. Let me see what else you're saying down here in the comments. This time we need to be decisive, said Custis. Besides formation, we need someone who can manage those egos in the dressing room. Hence, Zidane is a better fit. I understand that, and understand in terms of the egos inside that dressing room, and Ronaldo and Varane, it would definitely be. You can understand why Zidane's being considered. Ronaldo wasted so many chances today. We're not speaking about the game today. Let's not talk about that anymore. Maybe we could get. Oh, geez. What's going on here? You'll all be surprised with the replacement, Rangnick or Zidane. I think the problem is that we don't have a replacement yet. Najib, that's exactly why he wasn't sacked during the international break, right? We all know that. We all know very much that Manchester United, if we had a replacement lined up, he would have come in. But we didn't because the club was arrogant. The board was arrogant that they were standing behind their decision to give Solskjaer a new contract. And now it's blown up spectacularly in their face after the Watford game. I mean, it blew up in their face after City. It blew up in their face after Liverpool, but they still stayed firm. But today, after Watford, after doing that against Watford, there is no defending. There is no stopping this train from leaving the station with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on it, waving a white flag. And honestly, I'm not I take zero. I swear to God, I take zero pleasure in doing this. I wanted Solskjaer so badly to be successful. Maybe that's why I was a little bit later to call Solskjaer out than some people were. But I supported my manager and I stood by. But it was after Liverpool that I think we all just knew. We just knew it couldn't go any further. And then City happened. And then we were like, why is he still in charge? And then everybody was like, why is he still in charge? And then Watford happened. And it's 2 weeks we had to sit here and wait for that game. And it was just worse. Nothing improved. Nothing was better. If anything, it was worse. Defensively, shambolic shape. Defensively, terrible goals to concede. Attitudes all over the shop, apart from Donny van der Beek, who was fantastic when he came off the bench. And we've got multiple journalists here tonight, all reporting the same thing. Some more seriously than others. But as far as we know, we'll stick with. I think we'll stick with Fabrizio Romano. This is probably what we can believe at this particular moment in time. That talks are ongoing in Manchester United to discuss Solskjaer's position. Part of the board wants him sacked immediately. It's a serious possibility now. The final choice would, of course, be up to Joel Glazer. Let me know in the comments. Type yes or no. Do you think that Joel Glazer will finally give it a yes now? You let me know what you think. Because I think he will. I think the Glazers only really act truly when the sort of the mathematical top four isn't possible. But because it's so far away, because it's so far down the line, we're going to have to take an approach like we did with Mourinho. We sacked Mourinho in December, and it looks like we're going to have to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in November. Previously, we've waited and waited and waited. We waited with Van Gaal until after the FA Cup final. We waited with Moyes until it was mathematically not possible. This one seems to be different. Let me see what you're saying here. Yes, I would say that looking down, honestly, it's amazing how engaged all of you are. It really is. I'm privileged to say that we've built this community together. As bad as it is, we're talking about Solskjaer being sacked. It does put a smile on my face seeing all of you engaging with the content. So thank you for that. But if I'm looking at the majority, I would say, yeah, we're looking at like a 65-35 split, I would say. 70-30. Do you think that Joel Glazer is going to pull the plug tonight? I personally think he will. I think Joel Glazer will admit that it's now past that point of no return, that you can't support him. Because remember, as I said, Joel Glazer might be the man that held the gun, but Ed Woodward was the man that put the bullets in the gun. And even after tonight, I don't think Ed Woodward's voice can really control that board. There's going to be too much dissent. There's going to be too many people saying too many things. And I just don't see how Ole Gunnar Solskjaer survives until the Villarreal game. So it looks like we're going to be having a new manager for the Villarreal game. Peter, nice to see you here, joining as a member. Thank you very much. Let me know where you're watching from there. What else is going on there? Breaking my heart how far we've fallen, says Daniel. Hey, mate, you're not the only one, bro. I swear to God, this is pain. This is real pain watching Manchester United right now. And remember that we've got this crucial Champions League game coming up against Villarreal. Hell, I booked flights to go to the Villarreal game. I don't think I can go now. I wanted to. I really wanted to. But just with everything that's happening with Solskjaer at the moment, I feel like I want to stay and cover the news accurately and cover the news properly, because it's really going to develop. My gut tells me that Solskjaer won't be sacked tonight. It's 7:30 already. I'd be surprised if anything happened tonight, but I think we're going to be looking here tomorrow morning, early doors, for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be sacked. So I think Sunday's going to be crazy, people. I don't think he will survive. Look, right. You let me know in the comments right now. Everybody type it in. What do you think? Truly, what do you think is going to happen? I've asked you here earlier, but I'm going to read your. I'm going to try and pick a few of your comments out here now. So as I said, the question wasn't whether Solskjaer would be sacked. It's what comes next. So what's your gut telling you is going to be next? Do you think it will be Zidane in straight away? Do you think it will be Mike Phelan on an interim basis for the Villarreal game? Let me know what you think is going to happen straight away. I'm not talking about the summer. I'm talking about right now. If Solskjaer is sacked, and it looks like he will be sacked, and I'm losing my voice, who do you think comes in straight away? I'm going to read as many of your comments out as possible here, right? Because this is a really important conversation that we all need to have together. Oli must blah blah blah. You fear that Fletcher's going to be interim? That could happen. Lee, you're saying Rangnick in the interim with Ten Hag in the summer. Fergie, someone says there. Honestly, you'd laugh about saying Fergie. I don't think you can rule it out. I genuinely mean that. I think the board would be mad enough to have that conversation. Lots of you saying, well, no, some of you saying Steve Bruce. Rude, you're saying Wenger's interim. Well, that's not actually the worst idea in the world. No. Rangnick, nobody else. Carrick interim. Brian, you're saying how long till 7 p.m.? 7 p.m. was half an hour ago, Brian. So if Manchester United were indeed having that conversation, that board was having that meeting, then that has been happening. Let me go down here and see what else you are saying. Roy Keane, Joachim Low. Zidane is not good enough for the Premier League. Mike Phelan, Zidane, Roy Keane, David Moyes. Burp. David Moyes, no, thank you. That scares me. Ninja, what are you saying? Only the Glazers could make a stupid enough decision to keep him again. They are businessmen and money numbers are what's important for them. We know that's the case. And I love your little profile picture there of Roy Keane. That's one of my, I think Bald Keane was my favorite Keane. I love that Keane. The Glazers, as we know, are people that are driven by money. That is the case. It's always been the case. And right now, this is a case of if Manchester United were to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer now, rather than waiting for it to be mathematically impossible for us to finish in the top four, that would actually be one of the most proactive things that the club has done. And that's really saying something because we're doing it weeks and weeks late. Go down here. There's so many comments flying in. Rangnick, Ted Lasso. Woohoo! Let's get him in. That'll be good fun. Laurent Blanc as the interim. Gary Neville. Rangnick. I personally think it should. If you're looking at an interim manager, you can't look at anyone else really apart from Rangnick. It makes too much sense, man. It makes far too much logical sense. Experience at working in tough environments, experience at working with different clubs. He would just come in and be fantastic. Vicky, what are you saying? Unless Zidane comes in, Rangnick, Carrick, or Higgs. Higgs? I'm guessing you mean Giggs. For interim. But I pray it's not ex-United. Ole has to go no matter what. So the conversation now, I don't believe, is really about whether or not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be sacked. The question is who comes in next. And also the question is about when it happens. Because it could be tonight. As I said, it could be tonight. You cannot rule it out. My gut instinct tells me it won't be tonight. That's just my gut instinct speaking. I might be completely wrong, right? You let me know in the comments. Look, there's so many of you watching. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep interacting. So please fire in your questions. Not just your comments, but fire in your questions, things you'd like me to speak about, whether that be, what comes in next against Villarreal, who would come in and out, X, Y, Z. I'd like to answer your questions, so please get it in the comments below. And as I said, if you're new, welcome to United People's TV. Please consider subscribing. Please consider dropping a like on the video. I've got people saying that apparently he's been sacked. Now, these stories that he has been sacked, they're going to be coming straight from Neil Custis. As I said, that's where this story that he has been sacked is coming from. Solskjaer has managed his final game in charge of Manchester United and will be sacked within 48 hours. That's where the stories come from. C3PO saying, has there been any actual links with Rangnick? Now, C3PO, not R2D2, were the stories that came out from Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic last week, were that Ralf Rangnick is somebody who has admirers inside Manchester United's board, but somebody who at this particular moment in time, Manchester United haven't approached about this current interim role. But that would be a pretty easy conversation to have with Rangnick. That wouldn't be something that would be very difficult. Something like Ten Hag would be difficult, or Zidane might be slightly more difficult. Rangnick would be very straightforward. Kay, you're saying Zidane leaks are just the board lying to us. If Zidane wanted the job, he'd already be here. The board knows this, but will mislead fans for PR. I don't know. The board's not clever enough to do these Zidane leaks at this particular moment in time, in my own opinion. Any manager that's getting linked with a job is because Manchester United will be sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and there is going to be lots of managers linked. Ralph is the man, says Ian. You're not the only one who thinks that. Spanish or German coach for a big club like Man United. Claude, you're saying, do I think Donny will get a regular start after his performance today? Claude, I think he absolutely should. Donny van der Beek and his attitude approach, it was keen-like. I'm not saying his performance was, and I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he's keen, so don't twist my words here. But just like him going on the pitch there and just like everything he was doing, it's like his life depended on it. Jumping into tackles, scored a goal, cracking passing, cracking movement. He set the tempo in that second half. Really set the tempo. And unfortunately for Solskjaer, I sort of exposed him even further because we all knew that he should have been starting that game, and he wasn't starting that game. Got comments here saying, what's my opinion on Joachim Low? Fantastic manager for the German national team for a long time. Is he the sort of manager that's going to come in now and do a job at Manchester United? I don't personally think so. That's just off the top of my head because it's the first time I've seen his name being bandied around. Rory, I think it's also a possibility we sack Solskjaer, but promote from within. Don't put it past them to do something so contemptuous and stupid. Rory, if we did sack Solskjaer, I would expect us to make that interim appointment from within for the Villarreal game only. That's what I would hope would be the case. I don't think I don't think the Manchester United would sack Solskjaer and then give it to Carrick or Phelan or McKenna in the long-term interim. That would be utter madness. Ninja Smurf, nice to have you on board. Big up to your keen photo. Big up. Donny's so much better than Fred, says Sean. Hey, man. Yeah, you're not lying there. We all know that is the case. Let me go down. I'm just going to keep reading plenty of your comments in, so keep firing them in, man. There's so many watching. Sam, who do you really want coming in that would take us to the top? Sith Lord Muka. As I said, my ultimate ambition would be for Manchester United to proactively plan for the long term with Ten Hag and to bring someone like Ralf Rangnick. As I said, having done those videos, if you haven't, head over to United People's TV, go down and look at my manager series I've done there. And please watch the 2 videos on Ralf Rangnick, and you'll come out of it and you'll be like, damn, I'm impressed. Rude's Ghost, you're saying, let's talk about United's regression since signing Ronaldo. I think what you're looking at there, my friend, is a coincidence rather than a consequence. Ronaldo, we are not a worse team with Ronaldo in, but with Ronaldo's coming in this summer, we had to change how we were playing, and it's not worked. Solskjaer hasn't been able to manage it. Ronaldo's here for a year, maybe 2. I want to get Ronaldo challenging for the Premier League and the Champions League. Mate, he's the greatest of all time, man. We can't waste that. And that's what we're not doing. It looks like we're sacking Solskjaer. Let me see if anything else is continuing to develop as this story breaks. Man, this is a busy Saturday night, man. It's a busy Saturday night. At least it didn't ruin my Saturday morning, though. Stam or Keane would scare the shit out of the team, says Andrew. Yeah, they would, but they also would not manage him properly. Should have gone after this Scouse debacle. Zippy, like, you're not wrong there. As I said, it was after the Liverpool game that I said that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should be sacked. And we all felt that. And then he wasn't. And then 2 weeks later, we were saying it even more so after the City game. And then he wasn't. And it was at that point where you just realised that the club just hadn't planned properly, that the club was doing their contingency planning whilst everything was on fire. And that's what we're doing now. We're making decisions in a panic. That's why we're calling emergency meetings on a Saturday night at 7 p.m. in a panic after the Watford game. Lo and behold, we were crap against Watford. Who could possibly have predicted that? Apart from everybody. Rohan, you're saying, who do you think should come next? Rate your next managers. Ralf, Zidane, Brandon Rodgers, or Luis Enrique? I would go, as I said, Ralf probably on the short term. I would go Ten Hag. Luis Enrique shouldn't really be a conversation any of us are having. He's the Spain manager team, I think, and they've got the Qatar World Cup, so he won't be going anywhere. In the same way that if anybody mentions Mancini, nothing's going to be happening because he's manager of Italy. Won't be happening. Ole would have stayed if we won, and this losing was losing this weight. Oh, look, I get what you mean. You were saying, and that's why I'm confused as to why this is all happening after the Watford game, right? I didn't think that losing to Watford would change things. I underestimated the fact that we were going to lose 4-1 to them, all right? I didn't think the Watford game should have been a match which changed the fortunes of Solskjaer. In my mind, it was already made up. And that's why I always maintained it. I called it a stay of execution between Liverpool and City. And I've seen nothing to prove me otherwise. It was just a longer stay of execution than I expected. The boards kept him in place so they could start planning behind the scenes. And it looks, well, as I said, what we're seeing straight away. Let me run through the reports here quickly for you, because I'm sure there'll be plenty of you that are only just joining in. Welcome to United People's TV. Please, if you would consider subscribing, it's free. I'd love to have you as a member. So hit the join button too. Manchester United's board have called an emergency meeting. That's tonight, and that's happened here at 7 p.m. This is from Duncan Castles saying that the Man United have called that emergency meeting to discuss Solskjaer's dismissal. The Sunday Times understands the virtual meeting has been scheduled for 7 p.m. So that's happening now, or has happened already. We go down here. The Glazer family has also instructed club officials to further accelerate attempts to persuade Zinedine Zidane to take over the managerial position mid-season, increasing United's financial offer to the 3 times Champions League winning coach. So Duncan Castles there were going strong on the story originally, and the fact that he was backed up by Fabrizio Romano quite soon after would, I suppose, intimate the fact that he might be correct also about Zidane, about the fact that Manchester United are going to be going after Zidane. Ninja Smurf, what are you saying here, mate? As much as we all want a manager that has experience and that has a good football philosophy, the problem is any good manager would have done their homework and won't want to work for this board. Ninja, that's a very, very good comment. And I personally think, yeah, you're spot on there. if you're a good manager, you really don't want to come anywhere near this board, and that would strike me with fear. And I'll be honest, that's the biggest reason I'll be concerned about Erik ten Hag and why he would leave that perfect environment that he has at Ajax for the mess of Manchester United. It really is a good comment there, so that's a good point to raise that. German, Connor Hiss, my German mate who watches all German internationals, says Germany won in spite of Lowe, not because of. He's not well respected over there, so be careful. All right, Connor, thank you for that very much for that comment. I haven't watched enough of German football. I just remember Joachim Low being in charge of that Germany team that had Lampard that game. I remember I was at uni for it. Lampard's goal, and they had Ozil in that team. They had that team was amazing, 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 amazing. Some people down here saying media spin. People that spin conversation. I don't know where that's come from over the last few weeks, but I don't think anything with Zidane, in my opinion, I don't think Zidane is spin at this stage. I think Zidane's being genuinely considered as an actual candidate. And maybe that's just the board being lazy and the board saying, who's available? Zidane. And that's the only reason that he would be on the list, rather than someone like Rodgers or someone like Ten Hag, who would probably cost, or he'd have to pay compensation package straight away. So that's more money. And it will be a difficult conversation because you have to get a manager mid-season. It is much harder to do. Why would Zidane want to come? Let me know in the comments, right? Because that was a really good comment there coming in from Ninja. Thank you very much, buddy, for that super chat. Do you think that Manchester United's board and structure would put off that man from coming to Manchester United? Do you think that the fact that the Glazers are in charge and everything that's gone on, do you think that would be a reason that Zinedine Zidane wouldn't come to the club? You let me know what you think about that in the comments below. Nihal, you're saying, do you really think Zidane can solve Manchester United's problems? I'm unsure. I'm really unsure about whether Zidane could come in. I'm not on my phone because I'm being rude. I'm on my phone because I'm checking and making sure what is going on. I don't know whether Zinedine Zidane could be the right man, if I'm being completely honest. But the structure of Manchester United really is bad. We know it's bad. It really is bad. And for the life of me, I didn't actually expect Manchester United to do anything tonight. Manchester United have taught me to be very pessimistic as a Manchester United fan. For years and years and years, we've taken things very slowly. We don't really seem to do things when we need to do things. We seem to do things slightly after when we should have done it. And that's the case with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and not being sacked up until this point. And at the very least, it looks like Manchester United are acting quite decisively and quite swiftly with what's going on tonight with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. As I said, we're looking at Duncan Castles, we're looking at Fabrizio Romano, and we're looking at Neil Custis. There's 3 names that are coming up here tonight, and see what's going on. But new captain, please, says Peter. Well, I don't know whether that's going to happen, but Maguire after that game is Maguire's Jesus. Him and his coaches have been sacked, says Susan. No, they haven't been sacked just yet. As I said, this is a conversation that will definitely be developing tonight. My gut instinct tells me this is going to happen tomorrow morning, right? I don't think it will happen tonight, but I can't rule it out. Arvind, you're saying missing Varane badly. Absolutely. And you're coming in with a very angry comment by the looks of it, so I'm going to do it. Discuss some of the players being dirty, backstabbing bastards. Buy 3 top-class players, but we are suddenly worse. Sure, one of the best in Europe last season, but suddenly first division quality. What I would say about the players, and this is something that I'm quite conscious of doing, is I don't like to throw players under the bus at this particular moment in time because I think the players are symptomatic of the problems inside the club. If United were flying high, I think the form would be flying high. United are an absolute mess. We're like a preschool class when the teacher's gone out, and it's just chaos. It's mayhem. No one knows what they're doing. Everyone's throwing paper airplanes. No, it's mad. It's madness. No one is in control. That's what's going on at the moment, and no player is in control. On the pitch, off the pitch. If that's what we're seeing after 2 weeks, well, that's what we've seen there is indicative of why we were all a bit confused and angry, I suppose. The fact that Solskjaer disappeared for a week and went back to Norway, that the players disappeared for a week and didn't have to go in training. It was odd. It was very odd considering this is what we knew the situation of the club was in. But it's mad. It's mad. Look. The comment here from Chiddy, you're spot on, Chiddy. This should have happened weeks ago. It should have happened weeks ago. It should have happened the day after we lost to Man City. If that happened, Manchester United would have had 2 weeks to prepare ourselves, to do everything, to get ourselves in the best possible position for everything that's coming after. But instead, Manchester United now are panicking. And as I said, this is a very rapidly developing story. It's happening whilst we're live on stream together and having a conversation about it. Let me see if anything else is happening at the moment. No, not at this particular moment in time. As always, keep firing in your comments and firing in your questions. I'm going to keep speaking to you because there's so many of you watching. I'll keep it engaged. Drop a like on the video if you please would as well, if you're still here, and have I don't know, have a subscribe. Subscribe if you're new. Let me see what the actually I don't really want to know, but I suppose I will know. I'm going to go and have a look. Liverpool won 4-0 against Arsenal. Wow, what? I suppose that's good for United's top 4 ambitions. I don't want to have a top 4 ambition this year, but yeah, I can think we can basically rule out any chance of competing for the Premier League title now in November. I wish we weren't saying that in November, but I would say that's gone. So we're basically chasing that top 4, right? So Arsenal getting pumped 4-0 by Liverpool will probably be a good thing for United. I can feel Ronaldo's pain, says Nihar. Rui Faria, that's a random one, as interim to remain as coach. No, I don't think so. No, thank you. I don't want to go anywhere near anything to do with Jose Mourinho. Peter, you're saying, hi, Sam. How about Diego Simeone? He won't be leaving Atletico Madrid. I'm not sure he ever will. I mean, he keeps signing contracts. I think he's like one of the highest paid managers in the world. Woo, my voice has gone there. Woo. Yeah, look, looks like we're out of the league title race by November. Jesus. Wow. This has been a mad hour. A mad hour. I've definitely lost my voice here, people. Look, keep firing. If there's any questions that you have that I haven't answered, please fire in your comments here and now. I'll try and answer as many as possible in the next 5 minutes or so. Gary Rambo, what are you saying, sir? One thought, you shouldn't need a top manager to beat Watford. Blame all round. Gary is spot on there, my friend. You really are spot on. You shouldn't. You should be pumping teams like Watford, man. They're relegation fodder. Simple as that. Nicole saying, how ironic. It is iconic and ironic, actually. Is it the last goal of Solskjaer was possibly scored by Van der Beek? Yeah, it's the height of irony, really. It really is the height of irony, and it very well may. I think, in fact, it probably will be. I don't think that Solskjaer can be in charge for the Villarreal game, not after everything that we saw there. Everyone's asking about Ten Hag. You know what my feelings are about Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag in the summer is a possibility, but before the summer, I don't think it is a possibility. Sam, do you think you'll be over in Dublin at some point in the future? Jason, seeing as you mentioned that, I'll mention something that I haven't mentioned to anybody. It's something that I might be doing in the summer. I haven't planned it out yet, but it's something I've always thought about. Is basically just going on tour for a month. Going on tour and coming to meet you subscribers. So basically visiting different cities around Europe and coming and spending a bit of time, whether that's in Croatia, whether that's in Estonia, whether that's in Dublin. Big up Dublin, by the way. Big up Guinness. That's exclusive here first. I haven't mentioned that yet. But I don't know about that. Pochettino says, Gary, why did they perform so good against Spurs? Olav, that's because Spurs they literally sacked their manager after that game. Simple as that. That we actually kept a clean sheet in that game, my word. Let me see if anything else is breaking before we wrap this one up, because otherwise we're going to be here all night talking about the same thing. There's nothing else breaking, but let me quickly do an overview of everything that's happened. So the story came from Duncan Castles from the Times saying that Manchester United's board tonight were having an emergency meeting to discuss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's future. He came out with a story first. We went through and he said that they're talking about sacking Solskjaer immediately, talking about what his compensation terms would be, which is apparently 7.5 million. The Glazer family has also instructed club officials to further accelerate attempts to persuade Zidane to take over and have increased United's financial offer to him. Fabrizio Romano then followed up on that not long after and corroborated the story, saying that internal talks were happening at Manchester United tonight to discuss Solskjaer's sacking immediately. It's a serious possibility now. The final choice will be up to Joel Glazer. And we've just had a long debate, really, about the best manager choices, about what Manchester United could do next, about whether Zidane would be the right choice, about Rodgers, about Rangnick. Look, there's plenty to do, and we're going to have these discussions as and when they happen. But that's everything that's happened tonight. Trust me, things are happening right now behind the scenes. This is different to Liverpool. This is different to City. United are moving to actively sack Solskjaer by the looks of it before the Watford game. I think it could happen tomorrow morning. Sanjay, nice to have you on board as a member. We'd love to have you all. Look, seeing as you're here, I may as well say this now. Look, every single week here on United People's TV, up until Christmas, maybe even after Christmas, I'm giving away a CR7 shirt here on United People's TV. All you've got to do is join as a member. I'd love to have you on board. As a member, I'll read your comments out as a priority, get access to the WhatsApp group. On Facebook, there's a private supporters group. I'd love to have you on board. So please consider joining as a member. If not, doesn't matter. Just drop a like on the video and subscribe. I'd love to have you as part of the United People's TV family. Solskjaer, I believe, is going to be gone in the next 48 hours. You know where to come to have the conversation, the interaction about it. That's here on United People's TV. That's a hell of a stream we've just had there. That was a hell of a game, a hell of an embarrassing game, humiliation. You saw my match reaction. We've had the conversation here tonight about sacking Solskjaer. Let's see what happens over the course of the evening. I'd be surprised if anything happens tonight, but I'm going to be up early in the morning because I think it could happen tomorrow. Cole, you're asking, how do you join as a member? If you look on Facebook, there's a little support now button on this video. And if not, there's also in the link, there's a description in the link of, there's a link in the description of this video. You can join there. But thank you very much for everybody joining in. Great to have you on board here tonight. Go and have a drink. It's Saturday evening. I'm supposed to be going to a comedy show, but I just watched that comedy show at United and we were the butt of all the jokes. Let's see if I can still make it. Luke, there you go. Luke was one of the winners of those shirts. I hope you got that, Luke. If not, you'll have that very soon. I've definitely sent that this week. Sorry, it was a little bit late. But look, thank you very much for all joining in. Make sure you join me later on if anything else breaks. But Solskjaer, by the looks of it, is going to be gone before the Villarreal game. If there's anything new, you want to come here on United People's TV, it'll be covered here first. Take it easy, everyone. Have a good evening.